At the beginning of the book of James, it says, "If any of you is lacking in wisdom, ask God, who gives to all generously and ungrudgingly, and it will be given to you. But ask in faith, never doubting. For the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. For the doubter, being double-minded and unstable in every way, must not expect to receive anything from the Lord." For a good portion of my life, that's how I thought about prayer. That if I asked in faith, not doubting, God would indeed do what I asked. But sometimes, as we all know, despite asking in faith and with a humble and contrite heart, situations don't improve. Cancer doesn't respond to treatment, or it grows. Our financial situation doesn't improve. Broken relationships stay broken despite offering of conversation and forgiveness. Sometimes we decide our prayer life isn't working, that we either haven't listened to the right music or watched the right movies or read the right books, that we haven't had the right words or in the combination of right words to have the equation work in our favor. We think maybe we haven't been to church enough or we haven't done the right things, and that surely must be why God isn't listening to us. In 1 Kings, there's a story about the prophet Elijah. The king Ahab has called Elijah and wants the drought that has lasted 3 years to end. But Elijah tells him, as he's been saying for quite a bit, that the drought will only end when the Israelites return to God. And so Elijah says to Ahab, "Why don't you call 800 of your prophets together and we'll have a bit of a competition. We'll see whose gods respond to the burnt offering and prayers." So the 800 prophets start praying to their gods, calling them, beckoning them, begging them to come and consume the sacrificial bull. And nothing happens. When it's Elijah's turn, he puts the wood on the fire and he puts on the bowl, and then he douses the entire thing in water. And very quickly and very fervently, he calls on God. And God, in an instant, comes down and consumes the wood, the bowl, the water, and all of it. Well, if you look at that story, thinking about prayer, it's the 800 false prophets who pray better. They're there for hours with words and actions, beckoning God over and their gods over and over again to respond. Elijah's prayer isn't fancy. It isn't formal. It's pretty brief, and it's definitely not elegant or have the right combination of words. And yet God responds instantaneously and in an astonishing way. It's not how the people prayed, but about the relationship that goes along with the conversation. See, God doesn't view prayer as a transaction. If I say, do, etc., then God will do what I want, answer my prayer in the way I think it needs to be answered. God views prayer as transformation. That as we walk through situations and trials and even the good days with God, we start to be transformed. Our hearts change. The situation will indeed change your heart, your life, no matter how the issue is resolved. But if you walk with God and have a relationship with God, prayer is going to change you. God is with you, and acknowledging that is prayer.